Hello and welcome to another Lord of the Rings Rise to War video. I'm the player who plays as the King Under the Mountain, and today I am going to be talking through the new feature in Lord of the Rings Rise to War. I love bringing new features generally because I tend to be quite positive about them. I'm probably going to not be very positive about this one, if I'm being brutally honest. So Recuperation is the new realistic feature, shall I say, that we've put in to this war game. And I think if I wanted realistic, I probably wouldn't play a game. But anyway, that's not the point. Whereby basically, if you try and change your commander, if they've run out of stamina, or if you try and change the unit type on your commander, they get thrown into basically this pool here, which is in your apothecary. You can't speed this up, right? That's problem number one. And it can lead to some quite hefty timers. So some people have got kind of 30-hour timers. I mean, you've got to look there, right? There's 5 minutes left. They started with 7 minutes when I was messing around with it. And that's not a great deal of troops, and that's tier 1s and tier 2s, right? So I can understand why it's a problem. So I'm going to try and talk through some of the ways, hopefully, and I'm sure I'll get some of this wrong, to minimise that kind of effect on your barracks. And I'm not sure from a PvP perspective how much it's actually going to affect people. The things that I'm about to show you are annoying, right? But they're not game-breakingly annoying. They're just slightly annoying. So I'll kind of show you now. This is a one-unit pather, and I'm going to talk through it from a pather point of view to start with. Now, if you're taking tiles from the enemy up to, say, level 3 tiles or something like that, you're likely to be using 1, maybe 2 comms with 100 troops on at most, okay? It's not going to completely cripple your barracks doing this tactic with them. It's not going to help, but it's not going to completely cripple your barracks if you just changed it out normally. If I go to change the unit type here, you'll see that one dwarf would go into Recuperation. And if I try and change the commander here, that one dwarf will try and go into Recuperation. Now, whether this is supposed to work like this or not, I don't know. Whether this will be patched, I don't know. Highlighting this probably isn't the best idea, but we're going to do it anyway. So the only thing you can do really in this scenario, and we're just going to put a few more units on here. Thankfully, there's not much to be done in my server at the moment, so I'm just going to try and work through how it works. So I'm going to put 15 units in there. All right, now we're going to try and only lose 1 unit into Recuperation. And the way we are going to do that is we're going to add a new commander in, which if you think about it from a game perspective, you would change the commander if you wanted to anyway, because you'd have to, right? So instead of dropping him into the main slot, like we've just shown you, that throw it into Recuperation, we're not going to do that. We're going to throw him into slot number 2, or 3 or 4. I never really know what slot that is, but anyway, that's not the point. We're going to give them the same unit type, right? And we're going to give them just one of them, okay? And then we're going to have to press accept, because if we don't press accept before the next step, it will throw the units into Recuperation. So what we're going to do now is we're going to switch the comms to see what happens. King of the Dead now has 1 unit. Aragon now has the 19 units from before. I'll just make sure I haven't tried to add anything else. I haven't. So what we'll do is we'll switch the commander. So now Aragon's got the most amount of units. And then we're going to remove King of the Dead. Okay, 1 Dwarven Footman then goes into Recuperation. So if you're going to change pathers, that's the easiest way to do it, providing you're using the same unit type, right? So that's point number 1. That went fairly smoothly. And you'll be able to go, okay, well, what happens if I'm working on my siege formation? Well, the only way I can see now that you're going to be able to use multiple siege formations, and I'll try and show this. What can I use? I'll probably use a few. I'll use a few of these because I can still do the same example, I think. So if I would do this now whereby I'm sieging, I would use 3 comms to siege. Okay, so imagine this is your siege formation. And I have, what have I got there? 19 on there. So if I just throw 1 Dwarven Footman on here, and I throw 1 on here. This could work, by the way, for slightly larger pathers as well, because potentially you will use people for taking, those 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9s. Some people's pathers even take 10s, to be honest, but if you can get away with it, use 3 comms, okay, to do those kind of things. Otherwise, you will potentially lose a lot of troops, unless I talk through the other method, which I'm going to do afterwards. So here we go. So we've got 3 now. We've lost the 1 Footman into Recuperation because we've just changed the comm out. And now we have Let's have a look at the units that we've got here. So now we have on here, I'll just reset that because I've just accidentally knocked it forward. We have 10 on there. We have 1 on there and 1 on there. Now again, we're going to try and lose as few troops as possible. The easiest way to do this, he says, because I've just took that as figure down, let's just leave that figure as it was. We'll go back. I told you there's going to be mistakes in this video, right? So you would first of all add a common with the same troop type as you are looking to use. You would drop that to 0 to start with, as in just 1 troop, and then you would press accept. Now you'd have your 3 sieges or your 3 pathers here, right? You would then switch anyone who'd got more or full on troops, so you take them right the way down, like so, and you would accept after you've put the troops that you're putting back in into here. Okay? Then you would move him to the front. And he takes troops with him. Everyone wins. Okay, so you put them down there. They're on here now. I'll try not to fill it completely up, so we've still got a few left to show the example. There you go. Then you would switch this comm out, losing 1, like so. And you'd repeat the process. So you'd then put another comm in. Okay? And you would drop 1 in here. You're losing your 1 footman again. And then you would drop these to 0 if that's what you're wanting to do. Put them in here. I just didn't quite give them enough. So if I just give them another 4 footmen or a few more than that, it will then do that. Again, we moved Wal into the front. And then we drop, make sure these are to 0. Sorry, need to move them across. We would move Dwalin over here with 30. Save it. And then remove the comm, only losing 1 Dwarven footman. And if you repeat the process across all these people, you will end up only losing 1 Dwarven footman. Okay? That's what I would do for Siege and Pathin. That is the best way of doing it. Because if you just do this and knock them down, they go straight into Recuperation, like that. Okay? I would do that for Siege, 3 comms. I would do it for Pathin, 3 comms at most. Can I just say, you can filter them back in. Now, if you are doing, say, farming, which is what I'm doing at the moment still, just about, not that there's many tiles left, but I am farming a little bit. I'm currently 1 troop farming. And what I will say about 1 troop farming is, for those who don't know what it is, there is 1 troop on my damage dealers. Okay, this should probably not be that. It probably should be a ranged elf unit, so I get an extra unit of evasion. But I can't be bothered to build elves, so there we go. Right, so there was 1 troop on each of these. If the commander is empty, so you either have to wait till the troops die. So potentially, if you were farming and you were pathing, someone's low on troops, just let him die. You would go into your commander, and if they've got no troops, which these haven't, you can switch freely, and it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's that. That won't affect it. So that's a good way of getting around it. Also, if someone has dead troops in the army, and this is why I think it's not going to necessarily affect PvP too much either, because generally, if you're swapping troops in PvP, it pretty much means you're dead. So I think it's really only a problem for Pathin. And like I say, I would use 3 comms for Siege now, and I would use 3 comms at most for doing the Pathin stuff. And they're kind of the quick tips that I found around Recuperation. I will try and do a Recuperation update at some point. Because I'm sure we'll find out more things, or things will be blocked off and things like that. Try and avoid the queues as much as you can. I know it's a pain having to knock troops down. If, say, you were full, as in a full army of 4, I would use the tactic that I've just used. So if I just fill these up, and I'll stick them in there, and we'll put, say, just for the sake of it, I mean, I've got 96. So if I put 15 on each one of these, hopefully. He says, this is just your next example, or 10, or whatever it might be, but more than whatever it is on all of them. What I would do is I would, bear in mind these are all the same troop type, so it's a little bit easier like this. I would go into them, I would knock them all down to as low as possible if they were all the same troop type, and I would put them all on one commander and keep that troop type on the commander, would be my first thing to do. If I wanted to switch a commander out, for example, I would switch one to start with. So if I wanted to change a commander or a troop type, I would swap in one. So if I can't move all the troops, which in this case I could move them all to Dwalin. So say if I just drop King of Men, if I could, I would drop them to 0 and move them onto Dwalin. Like so. Right? So then if I wanted to swap out King of Men, in that case, I would do this and put the 1 footman into Recuperation. At this point, I would swap something in with a unit that was the same, and I would then move the King of the Dead units across to here because I'm going to want them. He says, I can't do that because I didn't press the tick first. I knew I was going to make a mistake. Let's go backwards. Dang nabbit. So, I knew I wasn't going to get through this video without doing something stupid. Right. We'll drop that down to 1. We'll put that up. That's that, I think, roughly. Okay. I would then change my commander. Like so. I have to press the tick, otherwise it will not work. I would then drop the next commander along in the line, and I would fill up what I'm doing here. He says. I can't do that because I've just put them in, I'm assuming. So I'd have to drop them all to here. I'd have to go on to here some more. Then I can drop them, like so. And then that's a low amount of troops. I can then do the same again. There would be 1 Dwarven footman in there. Hopefully I can put it on there. And then we're only losing 1. Okay. So then I would switch the commander out, like so. And I've lost the 1 Dwarven footman. And that's kind of the only real way I can see around it at the moment, for the sake of it. It's tricky, okay? Play around with it. Thankfully, it gives you a warning before it throws them into the recuperation stage. As always with these things, it's a shame that we've put this in, because I think there was a lot of positivity again around the game. And this is very frustrating for players, sadly, because you can't access your own troops. It's almost better to let them die than actually wait for the recuperation in some cases. But there are some workarounds like what I've just shown you. Play around with it, mess around with it. If in doubt, as always, follow your nose.